In the very heart of the war on drugs, a woman managed to rise to the top of an empire that was believed to belong to men only. They called her the Queen of the Pacific. How did an heiress of the old cartels become the most controversial face of Mexican drug trafficking? On the Pacific coast of Mexico, in the white light of the 1970s, the waves crash against the rocks like war drums. The wind carries rumors. It brings the smell of salt, of rusting cargo ships, of burnt diesel, and already that other, more acrid smell of fear. Because on these sea routes, shadows are beginning to rise. Men first, entire clans, who discover that the sea is no longer only a source of sustenance. It becomes a passage. It becomes a promise. It becomes crime. In the north, beyond the border, the United States demands. They demand ever more powder, more rolled weed, more needles and smoke. In the south, Mexican peasants burn the earth, sow marijuana, scratch the mountains for red and white poppies, and sell their sweat to those who know how to open the roots. The DEA watches, counts, draws maps. The Department of Justice writes down numbers and names. But in the fields of Sinaloa, Jalisco, Michoacán, other hands are writing a story with no paper and no seal. A story of blood. The 1970s move forward. Trucks head north to the border. Small planes slice through the night with a dry thrum of propellers. Mexican marijuana passes beyond the fences. Heroin follows, hidden in tires, in gas tanks, in bodies. Every seizure recorded by American agents is only the foam. Beneath it, a deeper current takes shape. It seeks a form, a face, a banner. In western Mexico, organizations regroup, close ranks, betray one another, intermarry. From Sinaloa to the hills of Jalisco, entire families bind themselves together in the silence of night watches. What is still only an intertwining of gangs will soon bear a name. Later, DEA reports and Mexican government files will announce it. Sinaloa Cartel. The Pacific coast opens like a wound. The ports of Colima, Michoacán, Jalisco, and Sinaloa become gateways. Manzanillo, Lázaro Cárdenas. City names take on the weight of strongholds. Overland corridors are drawn between mountains and ravines. Maritime routes are traced on UN and DEA maps like blue veins filled with poison. Starting in the 1980s, another river joins the first. From farther south, South American cocaine rises. Colombia ships, Mexico receives, redistributes, cashes in. The sea, which reflects the sun like a shield, hides beneath its surface the containers, holds, and packages that race northward. It is in this world that is opening and being corrupted that a child is born in 1960 in Tijuana, Baja California. She breathes the heavy air of dust, gasoline, and borders. Her name is simple, still almost transparent. Sandra Ávila Beltrán. Tijuana, a city of noise and exchanges, a city on the brink of the American abyss, receives her. She grows up among the neon lights of bars, the trucks idling at checkpoints, the cries of street vendors. The newspapers are not yet talking about her, but already her lineage precedes her like a shadow. Because her blood is not that of an anonymous child. It bears the traces of men whom the criminal history of Mexico names and fears. On her mother's side appears a name that carries weight. Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo. He is her uncle. In the press, in the mouths of the police, in official reports, he becomes the godfather of Guadalajara, one of the founders of that cartel which, before Sinaloa, structures the chaos. In the 1980s, he joins the dark legends. When DEA agent Enrique Kiki Camarena is kidnapped, tortured, murdered, Mexican and American case files point to him. In 1989, he falls, arrested, shown to the country like a trophy meant to soothe the fury of the United States. But his fall leaves behind a shattered network and a marked family. Around Sandra, other names circulate. Cousins, allies, men from Sinaloa whom the press, El Universal, Proceso, Televisa, links to trafficking clans. She grows up in a world where uncles sometimes disappear for months, where houses move from city to city, from Tijuana to more active trafficking zones farther south. Her childhood winds between the congested streets of the border and the dusty roads of northwestern Mexico. She sees pickup trucks loaded at dawn, suitcases heavier upon return, conversations that stop as soon as she walks into the room. The stark poverty of the villages and the sudden wealth of certain neighbors draw, before her adolescent eyes, the most violent boundary. The one between those who take the risk and those who pay for it. In the midst of this turmoil, Sandra moves forward in life. The journalistic biographies, built on police and judicial files, describe her crossing from Tijuana to other cities in the Northwest, where trafficking seethes beneath the surface. She learns early that discretion is armor, that smiles can hide weapons, that the living rooms where imported whiskey is served in crystal glasses are sometimes more dangerous than dark alleys. Blood ties open doors for her that others don't even dare look at. Traffickers from Sinaloa cross her path. She observes. She understands the gestures, the codes, the looks that seal an agreement more surely than a contract. The 1990s are approaching. In the files of the PGR, the Mexican Attorney General's office, Sandra's name first appears in the margins. She does not make the headlines, does not appear at the top of the list. Her name is noted in the context of surveillance, of investigations around members of her family, of people close to her. It hovers on the periphery of operational plans, like an echo. No formal charges yet, no direct indictment, but already her existence enters the investigators' records. Invisible threads tighten. At the same time, DEA and PGR reports, echoed by the press, suspect her of a more specific role. They sketch her as an intermediary between Colombia, which produces and ships the cocaine, and the Mexican organizations associated with the Sinaloa cartel, which receive, store, and transport it. From the 1990s onward, her name becomes tied to these transnational exchanges. No exact date of the first shipment, the first agreement. Nothing clear in the public documents. But the idea takes hold. She talks to the Colombians. She understands the language of cargoes, prices per ton, percentages, and returns. In the indictments that will come later, she is assigned the role of logistics coordinator. She is not the one holding the weapon in the street. She is often not on the docks. She would rather be the one linking the gateways. Shipments traveling from Colombia to Mexican ports on the Pacific. Shipments that then move up toward the United States. This role justifies, in retrospect, the title that follows her, Queen of the Pacific. For it is indeed the sea, its ports, its routes, that are said to be at the heart of her affairs. At the same time, the institutional world tightens. In the 1990s and 2000s, Mexico and the United States intensify their cooperation. Bilateral agreements multiply. Joint programs are put in place. Later, in 2007, the Mérida Initiative will give a visible name to this alliance. But already, before that, the two states are exchanging information, agents, technologies. The DEA strengthens its presence in Mexico. It carries out joint operations with the PGR, with the Policía Federal. The Pacific Coast, with its increasing flows of cocaine, becomes a priority theater. Violence rises. At the turn of the 2000s, clashes between cartels tear into the open. NGOs, authorities, and international organizations document bodies in ditches, shootouts, kidnappings. Every morning, newspapers display the grim tallies. Faced with this storm, the Mexican government chooses to show its strength. It wants to strike high-level figures, to give names, faces to its victories. In this context, Sandra's shadow stands out more clearly. A woman, in a world of male kingpins, draws attention. At the heart of these flows, the authorities identify logistical coordination cells, groups in charge of receiving, storing, transferring. Men who do not wear uniforms, but who command roads, trucks, boats. The files mention these networks as indispensable cogs. It is in this precise space that the role later attributed to Sandra Ávila Beltrán and her associates is placed. She is not a soldier, but a key. If her family ties place her at the center of narco tradition, her international connections position her at the crossroads of currents. Then, slowly, a public image is born. In the early 2000s, the Mexican press begins to utter a nickname: La Reina del Pacífico. Reforma, El Universal, and other newspapers use it following police investigations into cocaine networks. The title appeals to editors, sticks in people's minds. It blends mystery, power, femininity. In a universe saturated with male capos, the presence of a queen creates a brutal contrast. Public opinion clings to this word like to a nascent myth. In 2007, when the arrest comes, this nickname is no longer just a journalist's invention. The authorities themselves use it in their public communications. The PGR, the federal police, the Mexican Ministry of Public Security use it in front of the cameras. The mugshots, the official photographs, the videos of public presentations show a handcuffed woman, hair pulled back, face clear. Television reports seize on the paradox. A woman occupying, according to the authorities, a high-level role in a transnational cocaine trafficking network. The statistical rarity of women in these positions is noted in academic studies, in UNODC analyses on organized crime in Latin America. It is an anomaly, and anomalies fascinate. Yet behind the glamorous image stuck on by some media, behind the spectacular headlines, the criminal charges remain cold, stripped down. Drug trafficking, criminal conspiracy, money laundering. The indictments do not use either crown or kingdom. They describe flows, accounts, intercepted communications. But this gap fuels the tension. Between the media queen and the legal defendant, a chasm opens. It is in this chasm that, little by little, a symbolic case is constructed, ideal for a Mexico that wants to prove to the world and to the United States that it knows how to strike hard. In this already complex narrative, another character steps forward. He comes from the south, from that Colombia where the white shipments depart. His full name echoes through the files: Juan Diego Espinosa Ramirez. The authorities call him El Tigre. He is a Colombian national, identified as a member or associate of the Norte del Valle cartel, the cartel that, in the 1990s to 2000s, controls a large share of the cocaine trade to Mexico and the United States. Colombian, Mexican, and American judicial files line him up among the men of powder and blood. Mexican and American agencies are quick to weave his name together with that of Sandra Ávila Beltrán. They present him as her romantic partner, her criminal associate. This intimate bond becomes the dramatic core of the case. Because through this couple, two worlds come together: the Colombian networks, producers and shippers, and the Mexican networks, transporters, distributors to the north. the transnational dimension of the traffic suddenly takes human form. The American indictments concerning the Norte del Valle cartel already mention these connections, these shadow alliances between Colombia and Mexico. From now on, the Queen of the Pacific and El Tigre give faces to this criminal pact. On the secret maps of the agencies, arrows depart from laboratories hidden in the Colombian forests, cross the Caribbean Sea, or circle the continent from the south, move up the Pacific to Mexican ports. From there, land routes rise toward the American border. At the crossroads of these lines, logistical coordination cells bustle, and among them, the authorities place this woman with a heavy lineage and a flamboyant media presence. A woman in a system of men, an exception that is pointed out, isolated, exposed. Then the tension tightens. On the coast, cargo ships still dock. In the mountains, the fields continue to bloom with poppies. DEA and UNODC reports never stop counting the tons. But in the investigators' offices, one name stands out, circled with a thicker line. At the crossing point of cocaine flows, between Colombians and Mexicans, between ports and borders, a female silhouette rises. The Mexican state, pressured by internal violence and by U.S. demands, seeks a strong target, a symbol, a face to show the world. How far does this woman's power really extend in the dark kingdom of the Pacific? And how far is the state willing to go to bring her down?